Now, my hunch is that you were able to quickly get on board with the first 4 blessed practices that we've discussed. Yeah, they require some intention and effort, but they aren't particularly difficult to carry out. I mean, for the most part, they don't push you too far out of your comfort zone. To begin with prayer, to listen, to eat, and to serve. However, this final S, this 5th blessed practice, makes many well-intentioned Christians nervous or even reluctant to move forward. But here's the deal, you can't spell bless with only one S. And you won't likely help anyone discover the love of God without using your words and telling your story. That's the 5th practice. S stands for story. Now, if we're going to bless others and share the good news of Jesus, there will be times when words are necessary. There's really no getting around it. So why are we reluctant? And why do we often hold back from sharing our story? Well, let me give you 3 reasons. Maybe first of all, you bought into the lie that says, I just don't have what it takes. So many people think sharing their story is only for like super religious people who understand the Bible both backwards and forward. After all, I mean, what if a debate breaks out? What if someone asks me a question that I can't answer? If you remember just one truth about sharing your story, let it be this one. You will not have all the answers to people's most challenging questions. All right, let me say that again, because I really want you to get this. You will not have all the answers to people's most challenging questions. But what you do have is even better. You actually have the Spirit of God inside you, and you have your own experience with God. No one else is an expert on that except you. You have what it takes. Here's the second reason we're so reluctant. We think to ourselves, I don't want to impose my beliefs on my friends and family. Well, you know the stereotype of the angry Christian, whether it's real or digital, with a bullhorn trying to scream biblical truths into people's heads. If that's what you're afraid of being, that's good. Be afraid. Don't be that. Don't do that. What I'm asking you to do is just humbly share the difference that following Jesus has made in your life. That's not imposing your beliefs on anyone. In fact, I love this classic quote from missiologist D.T. Niles, and it reminds me of what we're really trying to do when we share our story. He says this, Christianity is one beggar telling another beggar where he found bread. Listen, what you say, yes, your words, can help people desperate for food, life-saving bread, find it. Your story is compelling because it's your story of how you found the love of God in Jesus. Here's a third reason I think we're reluctant. I think we're reluctant because we always tell ourselves, sharing my story makes me feel uncomfortable. Truth is, yeah, you might feel uncomfortable telling your story. You might even get nervous. You might suddenly lose your train of thought. You might stumble on your words. But I'll tell you, here's the bottom line. Are you really going to let those feelings stop you from sharing what could mean the difference between eternity for your friend? While the discomfort's real and the nervousness and awkwardness that you might experience comes, I'm telling you, it is so worth it when you consider the impact your story can make. And remember, sharing your story, it doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, let me show you what I mean. If you go back to the Bible, it's right after the blind man, when he was miraculously healed by Jesus. He simply shares his story by saying, I was blind and now I see. I love how simple that is. He doesn't try to quote scripture. He doesn't articulate any theology. He doesn't pull out a giant post-it pad and draw diagrams explaining everything. He just simply shares his experience, his story. I was blind and now I see. And I think this once blind man's story in John 9, it gives us a great framework here for how we can share our story in just 3 parts. And it looks like this. Part 1 is my life before Jesus. He says, I was blind. The man says, that's who I was. And so you share with him who you were before you met Jesus. Then there's part 2, how I met Jesus. The blind man says, hey, he put mud in my eyes. That's what the blind man said. He explains the strange encounter he had with Jesus. And yeah, that's strange. But no one can debate his experience. So you tell your encounter with Jesus. They can't debate your experience. Part 3 says, my life when I met Jesus. And he says, oh, I was blind, but now I see. That's how the blind man would explain the difference that Jesus made in his life. And you do the same thing. Here's the difference Jesus made in my life. And I promise you, if you build friendships based on prayer, listening, eating together, and serving, you'll have a chance to share your story. In fact, they might just ask you to share your story. And when they do, it will be powerful and it'll be life-changing.